When Princess Toadstool was a small collection of pixels at the end of a 2D platformer, nobody really cared that she was underdeveloped and shallow. And even when she changed her name to Peach and found herself a personality, Nintendo has always seemed content to just let her exist in the present without delving too much into her mysterious past. Maybe some spin-off RPG has hidden princess lore that I've never considered, but if the lore exists, it never really stuck around in the cultural zeitgeist. Mario games are inherently simple, and there's never been a need to give the damsel in distress really any backstory. But when the Super Mario Bros. Movie finally brought the series to the big screen, Peach had to be more than just two personality traits in a pink dress. She suddenly had to be an actual character, someone with motivations and insecurities. But, you know, it is still Mario, so Game Freak decided to keep things simple. Princess Peach was an orphan child who emerged from a pipe one day with no memory of where she came from. The Toads adopted her, raised her, and made her their leader, and that's it. That's the whole backstory. And while her mysterious appearance does leave the portal open for another deeper backstory later down the line, these simple bullet points go a long way to inform Peach's characterization. This community came together around her when she was at her most vulnerable, and she owes everything to them. Being their princess is less about having authority over them and more about repaying the endless kindness and generosity they've shown her. Her leadership comes from a place of service, not power. At the same time, there's a weight that comes with being their princess. The Toads are a very needy constituency, and while they do benefit from Peach's steady leadership, they've also sorta boxed her into a particular role. She doesn't mind playing that role for them, and she's actually quite good at it, but it's also very isolating. The Toads are the closest thing she has to a family, but they've made themselves into her subordinates, pushing her far above them in status. And of course, she can't shake that feeling that she's an outsider. It doesn't matter how kind and welcoming the Toads have been when she knows that she's not really one of them. This otherness is foundational to her relationship with Mario. Finally, she has a peer, someone she can confide in, someone who is willing to stand alongside her and treat her like a person. And Mario can actually relate to her pretty well. He knows the pressures of trying to live up to the high expectations from the people who raised him. We'll circle back to their relationship later. Peach's backstory is great because it lays straightforward groundwork for just enough internal conflict to keep things interesting. Regardless of what she wants personally, she values the safety of her Toads above everything else, and takes her responsibility as their princess seriously. I'm not gonna pretend this is somehow a deep character study, but it's effective and competent in giving Peach dimension. But there was that still lingering first question. Where is Peach actually from? Mario guesses that she could be from Earth, like him, but as Peach gazes wistfully into the night sky, she feels compelled by the distant stars. It's a big universe with lots of galaxies. Mario Galaxy movie confirmed? Yes, actually. The sequel came out recently, and Peach's mysterious backstory was the main thread they built it around. Unfortunately, everything they added to Peach's backstory is bad, bordering on useless, and at worst it kind of undermines everything. Spoilers for the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Peach and Rosalina are sisters, born from stardust, who spent their youth chasing each other around a small, barren asteroid. When they're together, their inherent cosmic energy compounds and they can tap into this massive reserve of raw power. Some dastardly forces wanted to collect this power for themselves, and so, to protect her younger sister, Rosalina sent Peach through that portal and to the safety of the Mushroom Kingdom. This backstory is pure Goomba shit for so many reasons. First of all, being born of Stardust is such a flimsy origin story. Like, what does it even imply? Are there other people out there born from Stardust, or are Rosalina and Peach the only ones? Was it fate that brought them into existence, or just pure chance? Was there some conscious entity involved? Is there a god of the Mario universe? Normally, I wouldn't be so focused on the logistics of a storybook fantasy origin, but they're drawing so much attention to it here. If it had just been one throwaway, Rosalina was born from Stardust, and then we move on, I would accept it without a second thought. But this mystery has been building up since the first movie, and Peach has been wondering about this for her entire life. If we're going to treat this backstory like it matters, then it deserves to have some level of weight to it. Also, who were these dangerous pursuers that forced Rosalina to send her sister away? Are they still around? Did Rosalina beat them off screen, or if not, how did Rosalina get away from them? Did she ever intend to reunite with her sister, or does she still think it would be too dangerous? And how did Rosalina end up as the mother to all of these Lumas? I don't expect this movie to explain every minute detail of every character's backstory. I'm a grown man and I can fill in the gaps myself, but that's called headcanon. And if we're supposed to be revealing the truth about Peach's past and we end up creating more plot holes that I have to fill in, maybe they could have workshopped it a little bit more before finalizing the script. But the unanswered questions aren't the main problem. What makes this backstory actually bad is the fact that it doesn't matter at all. Tell me, why is Peach going out of her way to save Rosalina? Well, a small little creature asked for help. Peach doesn't feel any personal connection to the situation until she sees Rosalina's face on a missing persons poster. And even then, it's just a brief impression. Peach doesn't actually remember her backstory until she's already at the Comet Observatory, so deep into the adventure that there was never going to be any turning back. There are no emotional stakes until Peach is actually face to face with Rosalina in the climax, and by this point, it's kind of too late. The audience has not had any time to get invested in their relationship, and in universe, it has been decades since their last actual interaction. Peach was a baby at the time, too young to talk or have a meaningful dynamic with anybody. Like, here, check out this stock footage I found of children playing together. I got this video for free from Pexels.com, and it's a much more convincing sibling relationship than whatever these two were supposed to have. I don't know, I guess Rosalina would still care about Peach after all this time because she's been watching over her from afar. But from Peach's perspective, Rosalina is someone she hasn't really thought about since she was an actual toddler. She's trying to reconnect with someone that she never really knew, and as a result, their bond at the end of the movie feels entirely forced. It never had the time to properly build up. As bad as I think this sister's idea was in the first place, maybe it could have been interesting if they'd had any actual scenes together. But as it stands, we have nothing except for memories of two kids running around on a barren rock. This is not compelling. And not a single element of this new lore influences Peach's actual characterization at any point before the climax. And it's kind of hard to imagine her life changing in the long term because of it. Nothing's going to change in the Mushroom Kingdom because Peach still loves her toads and she's going to stay their princess. On an emotional level, I guess she knows that she's not alone anymore and there's someone else like her out there, but didn't Mario kind of fill that role in the first movie? She finally remembers where she came from, but at the same time, it's hard to imagine a backstory lonelier than I was made of stardust. No parents, no community, just one sister who could have reached out at any time, but was too busy being parasocial about it. And did Peach need this backstory, like, emotionally? Even with that lingering sense of isolation and otherness, what's the actual point of having her discover her roots? Between the Toads and the Mario Brothers, she already has family, relationships she has forged and maintained by choice. I think it's possible for Peach and Rosalina to develop a strong relationship moving forward, but in practice, Rosalina is just another friendly face to add to the ever-expanding Mushroom Kingdom book club. This also writes the next movie into a corner. If Rosalina and Peach can tap into this infinite well of cosmic power just by holding hands, the next movie is going to have to somehow justify why they're not constantly doing that to solve all of their problems, which probably means they're going to sideline Rosalina yet again. And without Rosalina physically around, then what was the point of setting up this whole sisters plotline? There's never going to be a proper payoff for it. That being said, the stupidest part of this whole thing is how badly it ruins the existing character archetypes. The first movie worked so hard to make Peach feel like a grounded human character who's more than just a generic pretty princess, but now it feels like they're just adding a bunch of random bullshit to make her the bestest, specialist person in the whole universe. Yes, she's already a badass, but in a way that feels very natural to the Mushroom Kingdom, where anyone can learn that level of agility and resourcefulness if they put in the time. But making Peach inherently special directly contradicts the whole point of the first movie. There's nothing special about Peach or Mario in the first movie. They're shockingly normal. He was a plumber from Brooklyn, she was an orphan from a strange green pipe. Both of them are outsiders trying to find connections. But when the situation calls for it, they rise up to meet the challenge. Anyone could rise up to meet the challenge. It's a simple but compelling parallel that I didn't even think about until the Born of Stardust backstory ruined it. In contrast, Rosalina needs to be special. Do you realize how rare it is for a recurring Mario character to not be strictly defined by their relationship to someone else? Luigi is Mario's brother. Wario is inverted Mario, while Luigi is inverted Luigi. You've seen the essay before, but it's not just them. Daisy is an alternate take on Peach and tends to show up as Peach's doubles partner. Captain Toad and Toadette are individual variants of the Toad species, and most of the rest of the cast are defined as Bowser's children and or minions. Rosalina's always been kind of her own thing, the mother of Lumas with no direct connection to anyone else. If Peach is suddenly cut from the same galactic cloth, it's not only diluting Rosalina's unique aesthetic, but it's also redefining her in terms of her relationship to Peach. Do we just not trust Rosalina to stand on her own as a compelling character in her own right? And Peach isn't just encroaching on Rosalina's style, she's completely retconned Rosalina's original backstory. It feels like a fairy tale. A young girl encounters a lost Luma and promises to help find its mother. She leaves home on a spaceship, collects star bits for sustenance, and eventually, well, I'm not really doing this justice, but it's a simple story told well. Rosalina was an ordinary girl who became something special for the Lumas, and yet she still misses home. There's a sense of growing up and losing your childhood that resonates with a level of intentionality that Mario's stories never really aspire for. Forcing Rosalina into Peach's backstory didn't just undermine Peach's backstory with the Toads, it also completely squandered everything Rosalina had going for her. There's not really any space for Rosalina's storybook to coexist with the new Born of Stardust situation. And it doesn't seem like the devs were interested in exploring her character at all. Also notice that Rosalina's backstory is just a better version of what Peach ended up with. Rosalina left her family, remembers them, misses them, but chooses to stay with her newfound family. Her entire life is defined by the choices she made. In contrast, movie Peach feels like every important life decision was made for her. She's not trapped in the Mushroom Kingdom, but she's never really had a chance to explore other options. I'm not saying that this makes Peach a bad character, but I do think it highlights how much more interesting things were in the video game that this movie is allegedly based on. The Mario Galaxy movie doesn't seem to understand why a character's backstory is important. It's supposed to serve a function, guiding the character's decisions and providing context as to why they are the way they are. Peach's new backstory does none of that, and really only serves to spice up the Wikipedia page. It was a really weak idea in the first place, and the storytelling in this movie just isn't strong enough to carry it. But for some godforsaken reason, Miyamoto loves the new Peach backstory, commenting that he wants it to carry over into future Mario titles. Like, why? I know it's a cliche to constantly dunk on Miyamoto when Nintendo projects fall flat, but is this actually his first encounter with the concept of writing a story? I can't even imagine what they could do with this new plotline. Peach is born of Stardust and Rosalina is her sister. What does it matter? Where can they possibly go from here? They didn't do a single goddamn thing with this in the movie, so how can we expect them to deliver in a 2D platformer? There's really no potential here. It's really just a bad hook. But these hooks were never meant to go anywhere. They're just set dressing, an excuse to have an adventure happen on a big screen. The Mario Galaxy movie is designed like a video game, jam-packed with brilliant visuals and exciting moments that are strung together by the loosest concepts of the story. And that's fine when Fox McCloud is doing a barrel roll through an asteroid field, but it falls apart when it's trying to meaningfully expand on its characters. The Peach stuff bothered me a lot, but she was far from the only victim of this movie's unfocused writing. If the people really wanted, I might revisit the rest of the cast in another video. But for now, I think I've said my piece, and I'm more than happy to not worry about how they're gonna somehow mess up Daisy's backstory in the next one.